All right. Good morning, everyone. It's so exciting to have our first community-wide meeting on our proposed newly program, the Community Land Trust Initiative in Orange Mound neighborhood. Kindly note this meeting is being recorded. And if you have questions, there is a question and answer chat available for you to put in all your questions. At the end of this presentation, we're going to answer all your questions. So like I said, it's an exciting time for us to be holding this meeting. Together, I'm going to have a quick introduction of myself and my team members, and then we're going to kick off this meeting. So my name is Ebunluwa Odeyemi. I'm the Planning and Policy Coordinator here at the City of Memphis Housing and Community Development Division. And along with me, I have Vanessa. Vanessa, can you quickly introduce yourself?
Sure. Good morning, everyone. My name is Vanessa Delgadillo. I am the Public Relations Coordinator for the Division of Housing and Community Development. I'm also part of this exciting initiative.
Thank you, Vanessa. And we also have Felicia Harris. I'm sure many of you know her. She'll be joining us shortly. She had to join another meeting, but before the end of this meeting, she'll be in our midst. All right, so while we're here today, we are going to be talking about like I said, a community land trust initiative that we are proposing for Orange Mound neighborhood. And we're going to kind of walk you through why we came to this point and, what our next steps are going to be. So let me give you, Vanessa, can you talk about what we have for today? One moment, please.
Sure. So for today's agenda, we're going to be starting off by discussing the proposed community land trust initiative, School ADOBE. We're also going to be talking about what a community land trust is. We're going to define an important concept in housing, which is shared equity homeownership. We are going to also explain why this initiative will be taking place in Orange Mound. And we're going to discuss everything related to the governing body and how you can be part of it. And finally, we're just going to talk about our next steps with this initiative. All right, so we're going to start by defining what is ADOBE. So ADOBE stands for Advancing the Building of Orange Mound Through Development and Equity.
All right, thank you, Vanessa. What is the purpose of ADOBE? Is to create a pathway to home ownership and stabilize neighborhoods in Memphis. And we're starting off with Orange Mound to enhance generational wealth building. And it's considered a tool to help people move from renting homes and to become homeowners. It's also necessary to preserve existing housing stock and the overall supply of affordable housing. It creates equitable and vibrant city through quality living condition by utilizing a shared equity model for home ownership. Now let's just take a little time and watch this video to help us understand the purpose of ADOBE.
Hey, we don't have any sound.
Oh, there's no sound? So, okay, I need to go back. Sorry about that. I'm told there is no sound. Give me one moment, please. I'll take it again. I'm sorry.
For many, homeownership is currently out of reach, even though many families are able to take on that responsibility. Buying a home the traditional way isn't an option for everyone. Individuals may not have the right credit score, a large enough down payment saved, or a high enough income to qualify for home ownership in the community they live or grew up in. Families with modest incomes may also constantly have to move due to rising rents, making it nearly impossible for them to make investments or stay in their long-term community. Conventional efforts to make home ownership accessible to more families often include down payment assistance or other one-time investments. But once a family sells their house and moves away, the wealth may go with them instead of staying in the community. Fortunately, there's an option that makes housing affordable for more families and keeps that housing available in the community for future generations. Shared equity home ownership and limited equity housing cooperative or co-op models provide paths to home ownership for families who wouldn't otherwise be able to own a home. This can be done through a housing or community land trust, where the land is owned by a nonprofit and the home is owned by the family. This can also be done by including a restriction in the deed of a home at sale that requires it to be sold to a family of similar means at a more affordable price when the family is ready to move. In both of these approaches, in exchange for being able to purchase a more affordable home, the family agrees to limiting their proceeds when selling the house to ensure another family can benefit from that affordability in the future. Another way to make housing affordable for multiple families is through limited equity housing cooperatives, or co-ops, which allow multiple families to purchase shares in the co-op in return for stable housing. These co-ops range in type from manufactured housing parks called resident-owned communities, or ROCs, to multifamily buildings. And because resources are pooled together, housing payments stay reasonable over time, which allows families to build wealth and leads to stronger, more vibrant, and more inclusive communities. Through shared equity housing, the community is able to keep housing affordable to prevent longtime residents from being displaced. Residents can own a piece of their neighborhood and have a say in the future of their community, helping it become more stable and inclusive. And it's a good investment because the public dollars can stretch further to help multiple families over generations. To learn more about shared equity home ownership and cooperative housing, visit www.neighborworks.org/.
All right, thank you for that. So before we move on, please, like I said earlier on, if you've got any question, there is a question and answer chat there. Please put down your questions, and at the end of this presentation, we're going to be addressing all of that. Let's move on. All right, so what is a community land trust? Just as we saw in the video shortly now, it's governed by board of community land trust residents, community residents, and public representative. It focuses on creation of homes that remain permanently affordable, and it provides successful home ownership opportunities for generation, which is the shared equity home ownership that we saw in the video shortly. And that we saw right now. It provides stewardship by supporting residents to attain and sustain home ownership. So the land trust owns the land and leases it to homeowners, but we're going to talk about that as we move on. Now, listen to this other video to kind of create more understanding to this whole initiative.
I want funders, investors, financial institutions to know that shared equity housing matters. And it matters for Black folks, especially in cities that are facing an affordable housing crunch. We need to bust that horrible myth that shared equity does not create real equity for marginalized groups of people. That is simply not true. Shared equity housing allows low-income, moderate-income communities of color to be able to get into the housing game, especially in those markets where it's almost impossible. It becomes an on-ramp. And it does help families create needed equity. And we have seen from the research that the average family that gets access to a shared equity property stays in that property for upwards of 7 years. They're able to sell that property and then use those assets, that equity, to then go into the private market.
So we've heard a lot about shared equity. Let's talk about more on the benefit of shared equity homeownership. Number one, makes home affordable to low, moderate income families. And that's one of the purposes why we also kind of introduce all of those videos for you all to hear from other people, to understand what this whole initiative is about. And we're going to be investing public resources to reduce the initial prices. It keeps prices affordable to all future home buyers through resale restriction. Homeowners can sell their homes at an affordable price to another low-income home buyer in the future. So what is the essence of all of this? Having a CLT, which is a community land trust, helps to preserve the public investment in the affordable home permanently to help family after family. And we can see in this picture here, for example, one family has lived in the home, and after many years, they are able to sell to another low-income family. And whatever resources they have, they're able to also kind of let it remain in that community. And that is the goal of what we are trying to do with this initiative. So why Orange Mound? Everyone, I believe, on this call this morning has got, you live in Orange Mound, you have business in Orange Mound, you have families in Orange Mound, you have kind of like a hold, you have something beautiful going on in Orange Mound. And there are also ongoing projects in Orange Mound that the city is kind of working on. For instance, the Accelerate Memphis, which we are going to talk about shortly. So we selected Orange Mound to be like a pilot for this particular project. And with the expectation is that the success of this will able to have effect on all other neighborhoods down the road. So we believe that household and family who are unable to afford homes can own a home and have one that will be preserved in Orange Mound in Orange Mound Investment. ADOBE in Orange Mound would also protect properties in the community by ensuring fewer foreclosure, better upkeep, and stabilized residents in the neighborhood. ADOBE will bring sustainable homeownership within the reach of more BIPOC families. Still talking about why Orange Mound. I made mention of Memphis 3.0. We are all aware of so many initiatives that is going on, particularly the restoration of the historic Mill Road, that is going to have the senior center, that's going to have the genealogy center and all other great things in the community. We also have the Mount Peace God Church and every other initiative that is currently going on in Orange Mound. So we felt that initiating this community land trust in the community in Orange Mound will serve as a way to bring all the current ongoing projects together and to also leverage on all the existing projects that is going on. And that is why we selected Orange Mound to be a pilot for this particular initiative. So let's talk a little bit more about the existing challenges, the local data that has helped us to come up with this initiative. For instance, the affordable housing need, it shows here that affordable housing is needed. Home ownership rate in Memphis is dropping. It has dropped from this particular data that we can see here from 2005 to 2009, from 70%, excuse me, to 40% within 10 years. And we can see from the chart here, particularly among our the Black folks recently, between 2015 to 2019, there is a drop in the rate of home ownership compared to all other races. So that is one very important data that we have looked at to help us in terms of coming up with our decision here. Another very important point has to do with redlining, whereby many families, from this particular chart here, we can see among the Black folks, among the Hispanic folk, they have the higher rate of mortgage denial when it comes to home purchases. So redlining greatly affected home ownership in Black neighborhoods, leading to disinvestment. And that is why we feel that one way by which you can address this issue is through the development of the community land trust. So while I'm still going to talk about the initiative, there was a time where the FSG, that's one of our external stakeholders, carried out different focus group with developers, residents, and different people in Memphis generally. And these are some of the things we heard from the people as far as housing issues are concerned. For instance, one participant talked about the fact that says, I've been renting and rents are high. I'm starting to live paycheck to paycheck, which is very much unfortunate. The person talks about skipping meals and not able to live a quality life. And of course, we all know that this is not okay. And this person talked about the fact that I would like an opportunity. It talks about raising minimum wage or something. I don't know what they can do, but the government needs to do something. So this is somebody that was talking about his or her challenge in the community in Memphis as a whole. Another focus group participant talked about the fact, she said, my mama is ready to move out of her space because no one in the neighborhood is really owning a home. They all moved to Lakeland and Arlington. She's ready to move because the rent people are getting all the houses and they keep choosing tenants and they don't keep up the houses like they should. That's another concern from another person. And then this is from a developer, talks about the fact that Orange Mound is going to have the same issue that Chelsea has right now in about 5 to 6 years. You have multi-million home and a golf course on one side of the train track, and on the other side, you have shotgun lots. So these are some of the concerns of the people that we have been hearing and we are seeing, and we see that how can we address this issue, and that is why we came up with this initiative. Now let's see, beside the stories from the videos that we have heard, these are some of the success stories we are also pulling out for you to all understand that CLT works in communities. For example, in this particular success story here, this is Atlanta Land Trust. And it showed here that it builds sizable portion of permanently affordable housing, provides effective stewardship services for the resale restricted, owner-occupied homes developed by Atlanta Land Trust and others, and creates a favorable environment for community land trust development by promoting public policy, community engagement, and fundraising. And that is also what we are doing here today. Community engagement, having the people come together to talk about this initiative. Another success story here, this is in Orlando. Community Land Trust builds Black generational wealth in pricey Orlando suburb. The Hannibal Square Community Land Trust prioritizes workability, neighborhood legacy, and Black home ownership, and also creates generational wealth. So we can go on and on and on to talk about the fact that community land trust in neighborhoods works to preserve affordable housing, works to create generational wealth, and that is what we see, and that is why we have decided to embark on this journey in Orange Mound community. So now let's talk a little more about the initiative. So the city of Memphis is part of a cohort with one of our external funder, Living City. So this is a 10-year initiative. And we've been having several conversations with other cities across the country, whereby the city was told to develop a work plan in terms of addressing homeownership as well as business development. And then we came up with having the community land trust in Orange Mound, and that was why we were given this grant of 400,000 to see how we can ensure that the initiative works. So from the 400,000 we were given in the grants, we kind of itemized the budget here. The first one is to attain land via city parcels or the land bank for up to 50,000. For legal fees, because we're going to be working with, we have a lot of legal to follow the right path in terms of some paperwork that needs to be done. We budgeted 40,000. Consulting for the establishment of community land trust as well as its implementation. We have other external folks we're going to be working with to consult with, technical assistance and all the likes. So we budgeted 60,000 for the community engagement. The community engagement, just like we are having right now, is going to be on a monthly basis. We're going to be talking about that before the end of this discussion. We budgeted 40,000 for that. And then urban planning, site planning and project implementation, $160,000. Administration, which is 50,000. And then we are also going to be seeking additional funds because we all know that 400,000 would not go anywhere. But obviously it's a good piece to start with, but we are going to be leveraging other funding to ensure the sustainability of this project. So right now we've had some meetings with stakeholders in the community. And now we are having this community-wide engagement, and we have been talking about the fact that we need advisory committee. We need to develop the advisory committee. Some people have come up to indicate their interest to be a part of the governing committee. And what are some of the roles and the responsibility of the governing committee? Number one, to develop a shared vision for our board, and then prepare a business plan, such as having a mission, to have the organizational structure, talk about the function, likely partners, as well as identify potential funders and other organizations that will support our board. Obviously working together with HCD to lay the groundwork for the first project, and then also to hold meetings with HCD and community regularly to give updates. So these are some of the roles and responsibility of the governing committee. So next steps. Right now, like I said, we are having our first committee-wide engagement. Afterwards, we're going to have the sitting of the governing body in about less than a month now. We're going to be holding our first governing committee meeting, whereby we come together to move this work further. And like I said earlier on, there's also going to be monthly meetings, and we're going to be sharing out the dates and more information as we have them. But for the next 6 months, because we need to report back to our funders, which is the Living City, on how much we have engaged the community, and then the project, the progress as the work goes on. And those are the things we're going to be talking about during our monthly meeting. And then in June, towards the end of June, Living Cities will be coming to Memphis to, to have like a side visit to see the members of the community, to see the project, to talk to the people about, the success of this initiative, to have an idea of what is going on in Memphis as a whole. So they want to come to see how this initiative is gradually taking shape. And of course, during the meeting, they're going to come visit Orange Mound to have an understanding of, to see this terrain, to see all the initiative, all the projects that are going on, so for them to have a better feel of what we are doing as far as this project is concerned. All right, and so that's kind of where we are right now. So I'm going to pause and give room for questions as far as this discussion is concerned. So let me go on to the question I see here. Could some of these funds assist with restoring the Orange Mound Development Corporation, as well as part of the Community Land Trust? Are the two connected at all? So if I understand this question correctly, thank you for this question. So the 400,000 we talked about is specifically for this initiative, for the establishment of this land trust ADOBE. And like I said earlier on, the funder, Living City, let me go back to that slide. We've been this is like a 10-year initiative, and we're around the 3rd year thereabout. So they came to us, and like I said, this is kind of a nationwide. Every other city that they are working with, these different cities were selected. So they wanted us to develop this work plan. So it was from the development of this work plan that we were able to receive this grant funding. So this funding is different from the Orange Mound Developer Corporation. They are two separate things. They are not connected. And then I see another question here. There are other existing CLT. As far as I can answer, yes, there is an existing CLT in the city of Memphis, which is Binghamton. But this initiative, coming back to that question, this is a new one that we HCD is proposing for Orange Mound community. And it's one of the ways, like I kind of point out the local data that kind of helped us to come up with this particular initiative. It is in response to the need that we got from the work plan to develop home ownership, to try to address home ownership issue in the city of Memphis. And that is why we decided to embark on this initiative. So yes, there is an existing CLT in Memphis, but this is a different one that we are proposing to establish in Orange Mound. The next question, how were participants identified for the focus group? Thank you for this question. For this particular focus group, this was during the time when, before we received the work plan, Living City worked together with another external funder called FSG. So they had several people. They had like different focus group. They sent out emails. They identified different developers. So it was like there have been this was carried out somewhere last year or 2 years ago. I can't remember the exact time, but there were different folks citywide. This is not just in Orange Mound right now, but it was a whole city that was kind of reached out to, I think through email. I cannot give the precise way by which participants were identified, but I know that there were different means of emails and different ways by which people were identified for them to participate in the focus group. So I cannot really give the definitive answer in terms of how the participants were identified, because this was carried out by external funders, but we were just the outcome of the focus group was given back to us after it had been carried out. Do you see any alignment with them? I don't understand that question. Whoever asked the question can please kind of give more, can you buttress more on that question? I don't understand the question about the alignment with what, how. I'm not so sure about that, so I can't answer that question. Another question says, there was no mention of where the funds for the actual construction of homes. It will be difficult to find home builder to build affordable housing, as it is not as profitable as market rate housing. Thank you for this question. Yeah, you know, like I said, when I was trying to address the funding, we are going to be looking out for other external funding, additional funding, especially when it comes to construction. Yes, we know that, you know, construction is the bigger piece, but we are working with our external funders. We are on the lookout. We understand the challenge when it comes to construction, and we are open to different avenues to ensure that we get more funding that will make the construction feasible, possible, and sustainable. Another question, how can you get involved with a project? I'm a realtor and financial literacy consultant. I would love to help. Thank you for this question, Toria. Please put your name and your email on the chat and we'll follow up with you. Because like I said, next month is going to be the meeting with the advisory, and for everyone that advisory committee, and for everyone that has kind of notify their interest to be a part of the committee. We're going to be meeting with everyone next month. So thank you for your willingness to be a part of this work. Toria, please put your name, your email, so that we can reach out to you. Can you explain more about the urban planning, site planning project implementation? Why is the cost for this higher than the other cost? Thank you for this question. So this particular part of the funding, the urban planning, site planning, and project implementation is going to involve, it's going to involve us having external consultants, you know, the people that are more skillful when it comes to how to get this on ground, how to ensure the project implementation process is successful. So this is kind of like an estimate. We are just budgeting that 160,000 will be what is needed. We might end up not spending up to that, not even up to that, half of it, we don't know. But because it's going to involve us working with external body, having different consultation, having different technical assistance when it comes to that. That is why we put that figure. It's not a definite or the final figure that is going to be there. You know, when you're budgeting, you tend to budget something so that at the end of the day, you have more rather than having less. And that was why we had to have it designed that way. It's not the final spending, it's just like an estimate of what we should expect. So these are all the questions I'm seeing. Okay, I see another question. Thank you for everyone that is notifying us of their interest in being a part of this initiative. We'll definitely reach out to everyone. In the absence of no question, I would like to thank everyone for taking time to be a part of this conversation. It's, like I said earlier on, it's an exciting time. It's something we believe we are taking a very huge step. And we know that, you know, once we put our hands on the plow and we are not looking back. We expect there to be success. All right, I see another question coming up. If we have a nonprofit with a housing that needs repair, how can we access funding? Yeah, I think this is outside of the CLT right now, but I believe if you can reach out to our affordable housing department here at HCD, the affordable housing department is able to answer your question when it comes to housing repairs, how to access funding. So this particular question, I don't think it's directly related to CLT that we're talking about right now. But like I said, please reach out to our affordable housing department. It's in our division, and they'll be able to direct you to how you're going to access funding or how you can apply for funding, because every year there's usually funding available for different projects. So if you reach out to the department, they'll be able to address your question. Will you send out the slides, presentation, and links for the video? Yes, certainly. We will do that at the end of this conversation. Someone said they can't see me. Unfortunately, you can't see because this is kind of like a webinar, so you won't be able to see whoever is presenting because of the way this presentation mode is being set up. Someone is asking for the boundaries of Orange Mound. I don't have that right now, so let me not give you the wrong information. You can send out an email, ebonlua.odeyemi@memphisTN.gov, and then I'll look it up and respond back to your questions concerning the boundaries for Orange Mound. I don't have those answers right now, and I don't want to give you the wrong information. Please email us. I'll give you the boundaries for Orange Mound. Are you going to training for youth or hiring any of the community members? Let me quickly say this. HCD is just facilitating this project. HCD is not going to be directly embarking on the project, and that is why we need the advisory committee. During the advisory committee, we're going to be talking about, how the whole initiative is going to set up, how it's going to run, the organizations that will be involved. Those are all the things we're going to be tackling during our first advisory meeting next month in April. So HCD's role is to facilitate, to ensure that this initiative is up and running and it's a success, and we believe it's going to be one, and that is our role here. So in terms of hiring youth, hiring community members, these are all, this is the work for the community as a whole, and it involves residents, it involves everyone. We're going to be working together to ensure this initiative is successful. And I think these are all the questions that I have so far. Like I said, thank you once more. I don't have any more questions. So, thank you once again. In the absence of no other questions, please, if you have any concerns, if you have any issue, you can reach out to us. And you can send out an email to Felicia Harris at memphistn.gov. My email is ebonlua.odeyemi@memphistn.gov. We also have Vanessa Delgadillo at memphistn.gov. Any one of us will be willing, we all work together on this initiative and will be willing to address your questions and your concern. So in the absence of no question, we'd like to end today's engagement, today's meeting. Please feel free to reach out to us with any questions, with any concerns. We'll be willing and happy to respond back to your questions. Thank you very much. And I pray you all have a good enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll send out emails shortly as concerning the next meetings, as well as our next community engagement. Thank you all.